In this next edition of the Integrative Hermetic Health Show, we review points of various articles mentioned in Dr. Rodier's newsletter. Just go to his website at hugorodie.com. Then click on the newsletter navigation bar. We strongly suggest you realize that this podcast only touches on the high points of these articles mentioned in the March newsletter, whose title is on the left side of the screenshot shown here. In an article called A Time to Eat and a Time to Exercise, we look at the possibility that our modern lifestyle has retuned the normal circadian clock, which is a kind of biological clock which controls certain systems in our body and is basically governed by the light-dark cycle. This article says, indeed, our prevailing modern lifestyle, characterized by round-the-clock access to energy-dense food, low levels of habitual physical activity accompanied by periods of prolonged sitting, and inadequate quantity of sleep, all that interacts with our underlying biology to create an environment in which circadian rhythms are disrupted, often resulting in a plethora of metabolic conditions. This article contends that there are genes evolved to deal with the feast or famine rhythm, which has been thrown off by the above-mentioned habits of modern man. Dr. Rodier points out that farmers more or less live their lives in the natural rhythm. But those who have graveyard shifts, they may find difficulties when they throw their circadian rhythms off. A really critical factor we must look at is the microbiome, which is different in each person and carries its own unique instructions as to reacting to food, drugs, or even toxins in the body. This factor alone is proven to be very critical and calls for a reform being made to all research which ignores this determinant, which indeed throws off the results of any generic study which purports to be highly relevant to any one person. Another article we look at is called Rethinking Milk, Science Takes on the Dairy Dilemma. In it, among other things, we focus on a review of the problem by Dr. Walter Willard and his co-author, Dr. David Ludwig. They say the science behind the dietary recommendations for milk are thin, and they say eating too much dairy may cause harm to both our bodies and the planet. If we're going to recommend something, it is obviously should be based on strong evidence, says Dr. Willard. He reviewed the risks and benefits of drinking milk for the New England Journal of Medicine. Quote, "The basis of calcium recommendations is, I think, fundamentally flawed in the United States," he says. Join us in the next Integrative Hermetic Health Show with Dr. Hugo Rodier as we look at the circadian biological clock and its implications for day-to-day health and the value of milk, a beverage which, of late, has lost substantial standing with the American people.